So in case of the tissues, we can see the tissue inflammation. Okay. So the increase of the vascular permeability or the inflammation is going to cause the damage to the endothelial cells, damage to the endothelial cells. These are the things we can notice within the tissues. And the next one is the affected part is the lungs. Okay, so even in the lungs also there will be causing some inflammation, the it is going to cause a obstruction, even the inflammation, all these we can notice within the lungs as well. So the final will be just like in the brain, what we have discussed, the cerebral malaria. Here we'll be having the acute distress respiratory syndrome, ADRS, acute respiratory distress syndrome. So this is we can notice within the lungs. Okay, so like they don't have the proper ability to breathe, the breathing will be get decreased, the ability. So these are the things because of some inflammation, the exchange of the gas is not going to take properly. All those we can notice within the lungs inflammation. Okay, and the fourth one is the kidneys. In kidneys, because of this anemia as well as with the inflammation, it is going to cause some of the tissue damage, and even we can have some metabolic disorders. We'll be noticing some metabolic disorders and even hypoxia. So these are the things we can notice whenever we have a pathogenesis of the malaria. So within the blood, if the macro, for example, if we think there is a no proper clotting, okay, there is no activation of thrombin, that means our macrophages has done completely good and they have cleaned up all the RBC part, so that there will be no RBC with the infected one with the surface proteins which come and binds with these addition molecules. So if in this case it's not going to happen, we can see all these complications are going to arise. But again here also we got one other complication. If the macrophage is going to eat up all the RBC, we'll be end up with the severe one, that is anemia. Okay, so these are the complications, these are the pathological states we can see within the malaria. So we said like something is going to happen here within the macrophage whenever they are going to eat up the RBC, all this stuff. So we'll be see what is exactly happening within this macrophage. Okay, so for example, we can take this as a macrophage outer membrane, the extracellular one, and the inner one, and we got the nucleus. Okay, this is the extracellular one. Okay, the outer one, and within the macrophage, assume this as a nucleus part. Okay, so within this nucleus we got the DNAs. Okay, so this is all the cytoplasm or whatever we can call it as a, this is a macrophage. Okay, so this macrophage, the outer membrane of the macrophage is going to hold up some kind of receptors. So the receptors we can call them here as a toll-like receptors, TLR type. Okay, so which is nothing but toll-like receptors. Okay, so these are the receptors which is going to be present inside that. Okay, so let us discuss about like two different things. So one you need to remember is a PAMP. Okay, so what is exactly the PAMP? PAMP is nothing but pathogenesis associated molecular patterns. Okay, so what happens is like whenever we got some the pathogenesis is going to takes place, so there will be having some molecular patterns or the changes which is going to happen within this macrophage. Okay, so for example, if you take on the outside of the macrophage, we got a RBC with the infected one, which is nothing but which is having some merocytes inside that. So they will be taken up inside. Okay, they will be taken up inside. So what happens, they will be go for phagocytosis. Okay, they will be enter inside the phagocytosis. Okay, so these form phagocytosis also resembles some TLR receptors, toll-like receptors. Okay, so once this phagocytosis has been occurred, it is going to release all its RNAs and DNA structures or the components of the infected one is going to be get released into the this phagocyted one. These are going to be get activated. Okay, so what happens is the infected RBC is going to release up something in the blood, like we can call them as GPI. Okay, guanosine phosphatidyl inositol. Okay, guanosine phosphatidyl inositol. Another one is the hemozoin. Okay, these are the two things. Okay, so when there is an infection of the RBC, it is going to release the guanylyl phosphatidyl inositol and the hemozoin. Hemozoin is a byproduct of this merozoite because it is going to take up the hemoglobin of the RBC, and it is a byproduct of the things. Whenever it is going to take up the hemoglobin, it is going to left over this with the byproduct, that is hemozoin. These are the two things which are going to be released from the RBC. Okay, so this GPI, which is nothing but a guanosyl phosphatidyl inositol, is activated by TLR receptors on the outer membrane, whereas this one is justly phagocyting. They straight away come inside and get phagocyte. They are going to get just like sucking up. But whereas this one will be coming with the help of the TLR receptors, toll-like receptors. Okay, so these things, whenever it comes inside with the toll-like receptors, this is going to be get activated. This one entry cause the activation. Okay, so this activated one is going to release the nuclear factor kappa B type of cells. Okay, nuclear factor kappa B type of the cells which are involved in the activation. Okay, which are involved in the some of the activation mechanisms. So this one will enter into the nucleus, okay, and releases the pre-inflammatory substances. Pre-inflammatory substances like the prostaglandins or TNF alpha 1, okay, TNF gamma, tumor necrosis factor gamma. All these are things are going to be get released. But remember, these are the pre-inflammatory one. So these are in an inactive form. They are not the actual form. So the actual form will be get from the hemozoin. They will be incorporated within the macrophage, and they activate the caspase 1 molecule which is responsible for the cytokines, so which comes here and it activates the pre-inflammatory or the pro-inflammatory substances to the normal inflammatory substances. So this is the thing happening within the PAMS, pathogenesis associated molecular pattern. That means pathogenesis. How a pathogenesis? The only thing to remember is the GPA, guanosyl phosphatidyl inositol, and hemozoin. These are the two things. So this is a release when there is a attack on the RBC, it is going to release this GPA, and whereas this, when the merozoite is going to feed upon the RBC, this is a byproduct of the heme, which is a hemoglobin content. Okay, so this RBC straight away go on for the phagocytosis, and inside that it is going to be get all the release stuff which is going to activate the toll-like receptors. The GPA is going to be get binding with the TPR receptors on the macrophage, and they get an entry inside that. So the both the cases on the TLR will release the NFKB, nuclear factor kappa B. So these substances can move on to the nucleus and activate the pro-inflammatory substances which are inactive form. So these only get activated when the hemozoin is coming inside. So that means it has an important role in activating, so that we can have some targets for that. Okay, so this is the scenario in the PAMS. Okay, we have the another one, just like the same pattern, we have the another important, which is the DAMPs or PAMS. Okay, we can shortcut. So DAMPs, and this one is this is a damaged associated molecular patterns. This is a pathogenesis, and this is a damaged one. When there are you got some kind of a damage, some kind of a molecular stress or the damage, then they will come into the play. Okay, so here in case, just like the same pattern we got here, just like the GPA and hemozoin, here just like that in the DAMs we got urate, heme, and microvessels. So these are the three which are going to come under the DAMPs, which is nothing but disease associated molecular patterns. Whenever there is a damage to the molecular level, we can get those kind of stuff. So in that is the urate, heme, and microvessels. So the pathological state within the macrophage will be just like the same as the other, but the molecules are different here. Here we got the GPI and hemozoin, but whereas here we got the urate, heme, and microvessels. So just like here, the same. The RBC and GPI having the TLR, here the heme and microvessels will be incorporated with the help of the toll-like receptors, and they go for the activation of nuclear factor kappa B, so which in turn is going to activate the pro-inflammatory substances or the pro-inflammatory substances for your reference. Okay, so just like the immozoin action, it is going to activate the same cascase 1, which in turn is going to activate the pro-inflammatory one, which will be then converted to the inflammatory mediators, which are the active form of the things. So this is just overview. Okay, so this is just for your reference to understand in clearly what is going to happen within the macrophage only we have been discussed here. Okay, so and that means till now we have gone through the malaria life cycle and what are the different stages of the pathogenesis, and the final one will be the treatment.